After cleaning off all the dust with the damp microfiber cloth, it's now time to start painting. This is my first time painting with Valspar's furniture paint. They say that this is supposed to provide a streak-free application. We'll see about that. I'm using both a foam roller for smooth surfaces, and a quality brush to get the corners. So I'll probably start with the corners and then switch to the roller just to see how both perform. I'm expecting to have to put on more than one coat, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, so I laid out all the vertical and horizontal sections and did the math. The routed edge of the frame that the mirror is going to slide into is ½ inch thick. The mirror itself is a ¼ inch thick, so you've got a ¼ inch of play. The thickness of the horizontal sections is a little shy of ¾ inch, because that's typically the thickness you get, but sometimes it's a little off, especially because I sanded it down with the belt sander. And so after doing all the math and measuring everything out, it comes out to 7/16 of an inch. So I set the blade to 7/16 height, and I'm going to use it to route the sections that I already marked off. And because all the boards are going to be cut at the same place, you might as well do all three at the same time. When doing that, especially when all the safety features have been removed from the table saw, you really have to make sure everything is secure. I'm going to be using the guide, the miter gauge, as a slide to help keep things at a right angle, and I have everything locked into place. The weight of the extra material here on the clamps kind of tends to make it want to go this way, so I clamp them twice, one in each direction, to balance them out, so they're not going to be wanting to go in either direction. Of course, proper eye protection and ear protection. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the wet dry vac that's connected to the table saw, and then the table saw, and we'll go ahead and start cutting out the grooves. And I'll do so by going through one pass and then slightly moving it in one direction and then going again, and so on and so forth until I get to the other side. Well, it's the next morning, the clamps are off, the glue is dry, and the structure we built to support the mirror from behind is almost done. There's a couple things we still need to do. We're going to drill a hole on these vertical sections to allow for the wire that's going to come from the power outlet to the on-off switch, and it'll secure it nice and neatly. And then we're going to attach these self-adhesive felt pads to the horizontal sections, because these are the ones that are actually going to be in contact with the mirror, and we don't want to potentially scratch the thin reflective coating that makes a mirror. So that's what those are for. And then once it's in place, we're going to secure it, we're going to lock it down with these right angle brackets. Very simple. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and we'll be good to go. The last bit of the project will just be the electrical, putting in all the sockets and wiring all the bulbs and everything together, and then working on the rear panel, which is a dry erase board that I bought from Lowe's. It's almost exactly the size of the back, but I do have to trim the edges a little bit just to get it sized perfectly. And then we're just going to use screws to secure it along the outer frame, and then we'll be done. So we are back in the shop to start working on the electrical. I brought in the frame, and before I actually go further on how I'm going to put everything together, got to do that old standard disclaimer about the fact that this shit can kill you. So unless you really truly 100% know what you're doing and you're totally confident around electrical, you're better off probably hiring somebody, or maybe you have a friend or relative that knows this stuff inside and out. Or, you know, I always tell people, hey, if you can go online, there's tons of YouTube videos, there's practice you can do outside with some basic components and stuff, even low voltage things like batteries and small little light bulbs that can be powered by those batteries, just to kind of get practice and understand how electricity works. I'm all for education, but please just don't go into this stuff blind. It's not worth the risk. You got to be around to see the expression on your girl's face when you present this beautiful vanity mirror, right? I mean, that's the whole point. So enough of that. I already put in the on-off switch. Just because these wires are easily accessible, they come out of it. There's nothing I actually have to plug in here or get to. So I just went ahead and put that in. If you remember the custom cutout plates that we made to secure it in place, that's all in there and screwed in, so it's locked in. That thing's not going anywhere. So that's all done. Now there's two main things that you have to think about when it comes to flow, because if you just go dive in and spend hours putting everything together and be like, oh no, I forgot I need to do this, and now you got to pull everything apart. One of those scenarios is unlike this. This one has these screws that I am not going to have access to this side when I put this in, because this panel is going to be in the way. This is the tin colored screw, so that's the neutral. So I'm going to pre-wire this, but I can't do that yet because this wire that's going to plug into this, or connect to this is going to plug into the wall. Then this cable is going to run through those 3 holes that we pre-drilled in those vertical beams that are used to secure the mirror. It's going to run through that and then into this. So I'm going to do that last, only because I just don't want the grid in my face or floating around here while I'm trying to do everything else. So that's one thing to think about. The other thing is that these cleat sockets, also the screws to secure the wires to them, if I drill them and screw them all in, again, this panel is going to be in the way, so I'm not going to be able to tighten the screws. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire I'm going to get all the wires cut to the length that I need, then string them together loosely, kind of like a string of pearls, and then go ahead and then at the very end, once everything is all connected, just put them in and then screw them. So the depth, though, because I want them to go in but not all the way in, is a ½ inch from here to the wood. So to get that ½ inch, they just don't make washers that thick, but they do make 1/4 inch screw nuts. So 2 of these 2/4 inch nuts will be the ½ inch that I need. I can use these as washers or spacers. So I got a box of those because I'm going to need 2 and 2, so 4 per cleat socket. And then the length of the screw that's going to go from the back through those 2 nuts and then into the wood, but not so far as to go through the other side, is 1½ inch. So I got the 1½ inch wood screws. So I got that all set. So I'm going to put the cleat sockets in just to line them up, spin them the way I want, where I want to exactly drill those, or pre-drill those holes, and get those done ahead of time, but then do the wiring separately, and then at the very end I'll put them all together and lock them into place. Alright, here it is. Most of the wiring is completed. The rest of it I'm actually going to do on the desk where this is going to be sitting, because it's going to be all related to that grid that I have to then put on after the mirror. And because I have to put the mirror on first and it weighs so much, it would be easier to just do everything there. But I just have that one, the power outlet that's going to go over there, and the wiring associated with that, and then taking the additional wire from there to plug those in. So and running the neutral as well, so the neutral has to be tied up. So that's pretty much it. You can see all the how it's done in parallel, so that each individual socket has its own both hot and neutral going to them. And we're almost done, so pretty excited, and I know the wife is, so can't wait to get the bulbs all screwed in and ready to turn this thing on. Since dry erase board can easily splinter, there's a couple techniques that you can use to prevent that from happening. First, you want to use masking tape or painter's tape on the face side and cut from the back side. And then also, when using a jigsaw, try to find a blade that has lots of small teeth. The more the better. So I'm using a specific blade designed to cut laminate. And then lastly, the setting on the jigsaw, you want to make sure it's going up and down and not traveling forward at all. So I have it set to go up and down while it cuts. We're almost done with the project. Just to give it a little extra stability, I cut a small block of wood, screwed it in, and cut out the hole just enough to fit the cord in. It's actually pretty snug. You have to pull kind of hard to be able to get it through, which is good because it'll act as a way to kind of hold it, even though it's going to be secured further on the inside. And then this remaining slack is going to be plugged into the power outlet over here. So that's it. We're almost done. After doing the final bit of wiring and attaching the back cover, we are done. And with our daughter on the way, I have this vision of when she gets old enough to put on makeup and date boys, so like the age of 28, I'll have to buy a bench so she and Tina can do their makeup together. It'll be a beautiful thing to see, and I know I have a vanity that will last that long to make that vision a reality. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it to be helpful in building your own luxurious vanity mirror, and don't forget to check us out at Byawi.com for more do-it-yourself projects, romantic ideas, and other insights to create special moments for that special someone.